back. We are going to continue with our discussion with building websites. The important thing that we have to talk about now is the idea what the web offers based on a web site. So when you think about the ability to have personal information and work with that personal information by giving the customer a better experience. So that's one of the things that the web offers, is the nature of communication, that you can create customized experiences. You can create experiences that are specifically catered to that specific individual. And it doesn't necessarily need a lot of heavy lifting, because a lot of these things can be done dynamically. So there are programs, email programs, that dynamically add the name by doing a merge, or there are other programs that help with banner dynamic messaging for retargeting. So there are a lot of things that are out there, software that are out there today, that not that expensive to give the appearance that there is a personalized experience. So designing your website has to be with the users, like we said before. It has to be user driven, based on what the users need. So thinking about that, also thinking about accessibility. So sometimes coming from different countries or coming from different devices, you want to make sure that the users can access the website. When building that, making sure that the search is in the right place, and going back home to the home page is in the right place, and making sure that the header and the footers are all specifically thought out to address the ability for the user to find the things they're looking for. Even in your 404, which is that message you give when your site is down, you have the opportunity to have a message there, right? So first of all, testing your website, making sure that it's always having a company do that. There are companies you pay that constantly are pinging your website to make sure how quick it is and how accessible it is. But even when the site is down, based on whatever the reason is, making sure that you can utilize that opportunity to have messages there that are unique. This Casper website, one time I went to the website, the site was down, and their 404 message was, we sell bedding, we're sleeping now. Just getting you guys a better experience by updating our website. Accessibility can also mean from a perspective of someone who has disabilities, and there are different things you can install that you can make the letters bigger if someone can't see that well, or you can have the website talk to the user if they can't see. So all these different things are available out there that can make your site more accessible. And then coming in specifically from a different country, you want that experience to be flawless and fluid. So a lot of sites, what they do is before a person actually enters, they help the person identify exactly where they're coming from. And today there are even technologies that can do it by IP address automatically, will change the language, change the currency based on exactly where you're coming from. So having that ability to create an accessible, unique experience for that person coming from that specific country can really change the user's perception of your website. And then specifically, thinking about cell phones and thinking about different kinds of cell phones, how people are accessing it. We're going to talk about that when we talk about mobile as well. Making sure that your identity is clear in the website, making sure that there's no drop off. So certain websites, when they create their website, they think, okay, now we're talking to a different customer, so therefore we have to go either cooler or more retro or more this or more that. But if your identity is not the same as offline and online, you'll strike out. Making sure also that your company info is always there, because consumers, one of the main things they look for is the ability to contact customer service and find out more about the company, especially if you're a new company out there and your branding hasn't really permeated the world of offline. So you want to make sure people can have access to your company information at all times, wherever they go, easily accessible. And again, you want the customer, especially around times when there's a lot of traffic and people are going to have a lot of questions. So this Flower Shop Pro Flowers allows the consumer to find them, at all times with a phone number, so that the consumer can easily access that in case he has a question, and then he can call you so that you don't have any, there are no issues. Filtering gateways, again, this is back to what we said before, finding ways to get people to their specific country and their specific area that they're looking for. If it's shoes, if it's gear, and anything, Nike has the ability to do that. Also, when you think about your taglines, right, you want to make sure that the consumer knows exactly what kind of website they're going to. Sometimes consumers can come there based on a banner, an offer that they thought was interesting, but they don't necessarily know what you do. So it's important that the consumer sees that in your tagline. And then keeping tab navigations. Tab navigations is a very easy way for consumers to find your things, and Amazon does that well. They understand exactly how consumers need to search the website, and it's an easy way for you to visually get your message across, even though you have tons of different categories and subcategories. What you need to also think about when you think about search, search needs to be on all pages. You need to be able to search fields, subfields, any kind of way. The consumer needs to be able to access search. You want search to be simple, and there's something that Google instituted, and a lot of websites now have it. It's assisted search, where people start typing in, specifically if you sell products that are difficult to spell, assisted search helps you. The button is important to label, not the search box, because people won't know that they can actually go into the search box if there's wording in there. Make it wide enough, at least 25 characters, so that the user can put as long as he wants search in there. And so what's important is that one of the things that we did at ICE.com was we started analyzing what people were searching. And we found that a lot of search terms they were using were either misspelled, or they were a couple of keywords together. So we learned many things. First of all, we learned what people were looking for, so that we created these curated pages that the search box, when they said clicked on search, went to these beautifully curated pages, because we got a lot of those searches. Another thing we learned was what people were looking for, so that if we took those search words and we went onto Google and we bought those keywords based on the searches people were making on our website. So there are many things you can learn if you look at the search logs of what people are searching on your website. Making sure that they can find ways, if they want to switch the language, or different gateways to get in. If it's the currency, making it easy and accessible. Making sure that the logo leads you back to the home page. You want to always make sure, because people are accustomed to that. Again, here's another example where the logo leads back to the home page. Making sure that your home page is useful. Okay, so it's a gateway into your portal, which is your site, but making sure that all the information there is sort of thought out and useful for the consumer. We spoke about this before. When we understand what our personas are, you're going to prioritize exactly what you want to emphasize on the web page. So here, Shutterfly knows that the word free is very important to people, and it's going to get people to click. So get started making sure that free is in your, so that they can convert as many customers as possible right when they come to their website. Be consistent. So here you have an example of Amazon. Even though they have different colored tabs, but they're very consistent in their tabbing. So what it does is it gives a personality to that specific category, but it still is consistent in the way it's designed. Um, when you're building your website, a lot of times companies believe they have to become wordsmiths and come up with these fancy words or corporate words. You want to be able to talk the language that people will understand and respond to. So make your digital photos come alive. It's simple. It speaks to exactly what they want the customer to believe they're going to get. And they could have said it in many different ways, but this is simple talk. Again, here's an example again of in GoToMyPC where they use plain language to get the message across because they're simplifying the experience. The navigation is a very important thing, and it needs to be thought through, and it needs to be talked about, because creating an experience where the customer can have a round experience, I call it a round experience, meaning he never hits a dead end. There's always somewhere he can go from where he is at the present in your website as a whole. So you want to make sure that when you're designing the UI and the UX, which is the user interface, with regard to the navigation, you want to make sure that the navigation never has a dead end, and it's thought out thoroughly so that the consumer has easy access to the different categories and can go from one to another and doesn't feel like the site is done. So this is our navigation for a website we did recently. So just to give you an idea how on paper, visually, we have the ability to create these different trees and visualize exactly the experience that you want to give to the consumer. So you want to make sure that your tabs are telling the consumer exactly what you want from them, exactly what action you want them to perform. So by doing that, you're not going to receive customers that don't know what they're looking for, or they're confused exactly what that button does. If you verbalize and visualize the site in a way where the consumer can see and feel exactly what the message you want to give over, then you're going to have a much better result. So, this talks for itself. They wanted to get as much information as possible. Obviously, it's not, it doesn't fulfill its goal. Again, one of the big things is standardizing web content, making sure that either the tabs are on top or on the left-hand side, making sure search is on the right-hand side, because consumers have been educated to look at these places for specific content. And following those rules, I mean, you don't have to follow all the rules, but keeping it standard will help the consumer feel more comfortable in your website and find what they're looking for. Just an example, right? There was a test that a friend of mine, Brian Eisenberg, did. He did this test where where the button said click to continue versus continue to article or read more. And click to continue, because it was a real specific call to action, the increase in conversions where people moved from this page to that page was much higher based on this verbiage of click to continue. So you see, using plain text and easy to understand buttons, by testing that and finding out what actually works, will give you higher conversions in the long run. Making sure that your private policy is front and center. That's a key thing that websites need to have. The goal of the website is to get people to interact with the website, to get people to convert, to get people to know where they need to go. It's not a piece of art. So if your design person comes up with something that might aesthetically look great, but doesn't fulfill the purpose of what you want the consumer to experience, then that's the wrong direction. Having testimonials, we spoke about this a few weeks ago, about this idea of testimonials. And even though sometimes the testimonials will be bad, but that will help in the long run to authenticate the experience with the consumer, believing that this is a brand that doesn't mind to be transparent and place even negative reviews on their product, but because they understand that not everybody has the best experience, but still they're honest about it. Graphics are key. If you look at the add to cart, that visual helps the consumer move to the next stage. It's a very important thing, and a lot of sites use it. And people, there's half of society sees things visually, and I'm one of them. And when I see these icons, it helps me move forward because it makes me feel more comfortable. One of the big things out there today is something called responsive design. You can actually see the three different images on this, but if you have the actual presentation downloaded on your computer, you can see there are three images, and it's all based on building your website in a way that it's accessible not only from the desktop, but you can make your screen as big as you want. And specifically, if you come from a cell phone where some sites are experiencing between 30 and 50% of their traffic, the site will automatically respond based on the device that's being used.